Every night at exactly 12 a.m., the most advanced security dog in the facility would do something that terrified everyone who worked there. It would stop barking, stop moving, and slowly back itself into a corner, shaking. Now, before I tell you what was causing this, I need you to understand something important. This wasn't some rescue dog with trauma. This wasn't a pet that got spooked by thunderstorms. This was a military-grade security animal that had been trained to run toward danger, not away from it. And what happened when they finally figured out what Rex was reacting to every single night? It's the kind of thing that makes you question what else might be watching us that we simply can't see. And if you're enjoying stories that start normal and end deeply disturbing, go ahead and subscribe now, because this one only gets worse. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. The dog's name was Rex, and to understand why his behavior was so shocking, you need to understand what kind of animal Rex actually was. Rex wasn't just any guard dog. He was a carefully engineered German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois mix, bred specifically for high-level security work. His bloodline had been used by military contractors, border patrol units, and even certain government agencies that don't publicly advertise what they do. The facility that employed Rex was a private research compound in the American Southwest, the kind of place that doesn't show up on Google Maps. They dealt with sensitive materials, proprietary technology, and the kind of information that required around-the-clock security. And Rex was the crown jewel of that security system. During the day, Rex was absolutely flawless. He could detect explosives from 30 feet away, identify intruders by scent alone, even if they'd left hours earlier, read micro-expressions in human behavior that indicated stress, deception, or hostile intent, navigate the entire compound in complete darkness without hesitation. His handler, a former Marine named John, often said that Rex was more reliable than any security camera they had. Because cameras can be hacked. Cameras can malfunction. But Rex? Rex never failed. At least, not during the day. When John first started working night shifts with Rex, he noticed something was off within the first week. During daytime patrols, Rex walked with his head high, ears forward, constantly scanning. He was confident, alert, in control. But as the evening shift wore on, something subtle would begin to change. Around 10 p.m., Rex would start glancing over his shoulder more frequently. By 11 p.m., his ears would twitch at sounds that weren't there. And by 11:30, John would notice Rex's breathing had changed, faster, shallower, like he was preparing for something. John assumed it was just the adjustment to night work. Dogs have routines, after all. Maybe Rex was just tired. But then midnight would arrive. And everything would fall apart. At exactly 12 a.m., Rex would undergo a transformation that John can only describe as shutting down. Here's what would happen, in order. At 11:59 and 50 seconds p.m., Rex would still be alert, responsive, functioning normally. 12 o'clock a.m., his ears would fold back against his head. And at exactly 12 o'clock and 5 seconds a.m., he would stop responding to commands completely. Not disobedience, it was as if he couldn't even hear John anymore. 12 o'clock and 15 seconds a.m., Rex would begin backing up slowly, never taking his eyes off something in the hallway. 12 o'clock and 30 seconds a.m., he would press himself into the farthest corner of whatever room they were in, body trembling, a low whimper escaping his throat. And here's the detail that disturbed John the most. Rex's eyes would track something moving. Something that John couldn't see. After the third night of this happening, John reported it to his supervisor, a woman named Dr. Sarah who oversaw all security operations. Dr. Sarah's response was immediate. "Are you near him when this happens?" "Yeah, I'm always with him during." Don't be, she interrupted. Stay at least 15 feet away from Rex between midnight and 12:30 a.m. That's an order. John was confused. Why? What's going on? Just follow the protocol, Dr. Sarah said. And whatever you do, don't try to comfort him. Don't touch him. Don't even make eye contact. That's when John realized something chilling. Dr. Sarah had already known about this. She'd seen it before. This wasn't Rex's first night shift. Other handlers had dealt with this exact same behavior. And there was a protocol for it. Now, if you would do anything for your dog and go over and beyond to make it better, hit that subscribe button, and that's exactly what John did. John started digging through old security reports, the ones that don't get filed in the main system. He found incident reports from 3 previous handlers. Handler 1 noted Rex became non-responsive at 12 midnight. Attempted to redirect his attention, but Rex turned and lunged at me. Required medical attention for lacerations on my forearm. Handler 2, 5 months prior, noted, during midnight episode, Rex exhibited extreme defensive aggression when I approached. He wasn't attacking me, he was trying to keep me away from something. Recommends psychological evaluation. And finally, Handler 3, who worked there 2 months prior, noted, Rex has made it clear he wants me to leave him alone during these episodes. I don't know what he's protecting me from, but I'm not going to find out. Requesting transfer to day shift. All 3 handlers had been moved off night duty. None of them had been told what was actually happening. And if you're starting to realize this goes way deeper than just a scared dog, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what they discovered next completely changed how they understood the facility itself. John decided to do what any rational person would do, review the security footage. The facility had cameras everywhere, hallways, storage rooms, perimeter fences, even inside the security office where Rex spent most of his midnight hours. John pulled up footage from the previous 2 weeks and started watching at 2x speed. Everything looked normal. Until he isolated the time window between 11:45 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. That's when he saw it. Or rather, that's when he saw what Rex was seeing. At first, John thought it was a camera glitch. At approximately 3 minutes past midnight on every single night he reviewed, the same anomaly would appear in the hallway footage. It wasn't a person. It wasn't an animal. It was a distortion. Imagine looking at the air above hot pavement on a summer day, that shimmering, wavy effect. Now imagine that effect moving independently. Against the direction of the lights. Against any logical source of heat. The distortion would appear at the far end of the east hallway, near the old maintenance access point. Then it would move. Slowly. Deliberately. Down the hallway, past 3 security checkpoints, through a corridor that required keycard access. And it would stop directly outside the security office door. Right where Rex would be staring. John slowed the footage down to individual frames. At normal speed, the distortion looked like it could be a camera artifact. But frame by frame, John noticed something that made his hands go cold. The distortion had edges. Not defined edges like a person or object, but boundaries. As if something was occupying space that the camera could barely register, and those boundaries were roughly 6 feet tall. Roughly human-shaped. But wrong in ways John couldn't articulate. In one frame, the distortion would be near the ceiling. In the next frame, it would be low to the ground. In the third frame, it would be stretched horizontally across the entire width of the hallway. It moved in ways that didn't respect physics. And then John noticed the most disturbing detail of all. The cameras that were pointed directly at the distortion would experience a brief flicker, just 2 or 3 frames, right as it passed through their field of view. As if something was interfering with the recording. As if it knew it was being watched. John took the footage to Dr. Sarah immediately. "I need you to see this," he said, pulling up the recordings on her office computer. Dr. Sarah watched in silence. Her expression didn't change. When the footage ended, she closed the window and turned to John. "What you're seeing is classified," she said quietly. "And I'm going to tell you something now that doesn't leave this room." Dr. Sarah explained that the facility had been built in 2018 on the site of a former Cold War-era research installation. That original installation had been decommissioned in 1987 and was supposed to have been completely demolished. But when they broke ground for the new facility, construction crews discovered something that wasn't in any of the historical records. An underground tunnel system. Not just maintenance tunnels, these were extensive. Some sections ran nearly a quarter-mile in length. Others descended 3 or 4 levels deep, far below the current facility's foundation. The tunnels were sealed off during construction. Filled with concrete. Made inaccessible. Or so everyone thought. About 6 months after we opened, Dr. Sarah continued, we started picking up sound anomalies on our monitoring equipment. Low-frequency vibrations. Almost like breathing. Breathing? John repeated. That's what it sounded like. But not human breathing. The pattern was too slow. Too deep. Like something with lungs the size of oil drums. She pulled up an audio file on her computer and played it for John. Even through the speakers, even filtered and compressed, the sound made John's skin crawl. It was rhythmic. Deliberate. And underneath it, there was something else, a kind of resonance, like the sound was coming from something hollow. We ran every test we could think of, Dr. Sarah said. Seismic activity. Structural settling. Underground water flow. Nothing explained it. And then we brought in Rex. Here's the part that Dr. Sarah had never told any of the handlers. When Rex was being trained for night patrol work, his conditioning included audio exposure. The idea was simple: play recordings of unusual sounds, mechanical noises, animal calls, environmental audio, so Rex would learn to differentiate between normal night sounds and actual threats. One of those recordings had been taken from the old tunnel system during the initial site survey. The recording was played for Rex during dozens of training sessions. Over and over. Until Rex learned to recognize it as background noise. Something to ignore. But here's what they didn't know at the time. The recording had captured more than just environmental sound. It had captured that low-frequency breathing. And something else. Something that only became apparent when they analyzed the audio in a specialized lab months later. There was a response pattern. Every time the recording equipment made a sound, a click, a beep, a human voice, the breathing would pause. Then change rhythm. As if whatever was making the sound was listening. And now, every night at midnight, when the facility became quiet enough, Rex could hear it again. Not on a recording this time. It was live. Dr. Sarah brought in an animal behavior specialist, a woman named Dr. Patricia Voss, who had worked with military and police dogs for over 20 years. Dr. Voss spent 3 nights observing Rex's midnight episodes. Her conclusion was delivered in a tone that John described as professionally disturbed. Rex isn't afraid, Dr. Voss said. At least, not in the way we typically define fear in dogs. Then what is he doing? John asked. He's submitting. Dr. Voss explained that when dogs encounter something they perceive as a significant threat, they have 3 basic responses. Fight, aggression, barking, lunging, flight, running away, hiding, freeze, remaining motionless to avoid detection. But Rex was doing something different. He was engaging in appeasement behavior. When a dog backs into a corner, lowers its ears, and avoids eye contact, it's not just scared, Dr. Voss explained. It's trying to communicate non-aggression to something it believes is dominant. Something it believes could harm it if provoked. But why does he do this every night? John asked. Why at the exact same time? Because, Dr. Voss said slowly, whatever Rex is responding to, it's consistent. It follows a pattern. And Rex has learned that if he doesn't challenge it, if he just stays still and quiet, it eventually goes away. Dr. Sarah leaned forward. You're saying Rex has been interacting with this thing for months? Not just interacting, Dr. Voss corrected. Coexisting. Rex has established a behavioral routine with whatever he's perceiving. He's learned the rules. Dr. Voss showed them footage from the previous night, slowed down and zoomed in on Rex's face. Watch his eyes, she said. In the video, Rex was pressed into his corner, trembling. But his eyes weren't darting around in panic. They were tracking. Left to right. Up and down. Focused on a specific point in space that moved through the room. Do you see it? Dr. Voss asked. He's not staring at a general area. He's following something. And not just following, he's anticipating where it's going to move next. She paused the footage at 12:47 a.m. Right here, she said, pointing at the screen. Watch what happens. She advanced the video frame by frame. Rex's eyes shifted to the left. Then, 3 seconds later, the camera feed flickered. And when it came back, there was a brief distortion in the exact spot Rex had been looking at. He sees it before the cameras do, Dr. Voss said quietly. Whatever it is, Rex can perceive it more clearly than our equipment can. John finally said what everyone was thinking. What if it's not trying to hurt him? What if it's just curious? The room went silent. Dogs bark at threats, Marcus continued. They bark at strangers, at other animals, at anything unfamiliar. But Rex doesn't bark during these episodes. He goes completely quiet. Dr. Voss nodded slowly. That's correct. Dogs only remain silent in two situations: when they're trying to avoid detection from a predator, or when they recognize the other animal as part of their social structure. Wait, Dr. Sarah said. Are you suggesting Rex thinks this thing is like him? No, Dr. Voss replied. I'm suggesting Rex thinks it's above him. Dogs don't bark at animals they perceive as superior in the hierarchy. They submit. They wait for the dominant animal to either engage or leave. And every night, she continued, it leaves. Which means Rex has learned that submission works. That staying quiet keeps him safe. John felt his throat tighten. So, what happens if it stops leaving? Nobody answered. After Dr. Voss's report, the decision was made to remove Rex from night shift permanently. It wasn't a matter of his performance, it was a matter of ethics. We can't keep putting him through this, Dr. Sarah said. Whatever he's experiencing, it's clearly causing psychological stress. Rex was reassigned to daytime perimeter patrol, where he returned to his normal, confident behavior immediately. Problem solved. Or so they thought. 2 weeks after Rex was removed, John was reviewing routine security footage when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The distortion was still appearing. Every night at exactly 12 a.m. Same hallway, same path, and same destination. It would move down the corridor, pause outside the security office door. And wait. For 30 seconds, the distortion would remain stationary in that exact spot, the spot where Rex used to be. Then it would move again, drifting back down the hallway until it disappeared near the old maintenance access point. Marcus showed the footage to Dr. Sarah. It's looking for him, John said, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Sarah didn't argue. Against every protocol, against every safety regulation, John made a decision. He brought Rex back. Just for one night. Just to see what would happen. At 11:55 p.m., Marcus positioned Rex in the security office with cameras recording from every angle. At 11:59 p.m., Rex's behavior shifted, ears back, breathing quickened. At 12 a.m., the distortion appeared at the end of the hallway. And then something happened that had never been captured on camera before. The distortion moved faster. Not threateningly, there was no aggression in the movement. But there was purpose. It traveled down the hallway in half the usual time, and when it reached the security office door, it didn't just pause. It pressed against the door. The camera inside the office flickered. And for just a moment, maybe 3 or 4 frames, Marcus could see something in the distortion. Not a face. Not a body. But a shape. A silhouette that suggested something standing upright. Something tall and impossibly thin, with proportions that didn't match any human being Marcus had ever seen. And Rex, pressed into his corner, did something he had never done during any of his previous episodes. He wagged his tail. Just once. A small, uncertain movement. The gesture of a dog recognizing someone familiar. John never brought Rex back after that night. The footage was classified. Locked in a secure server that required 3 levels of authorization to access. Dr. Sarah put in a formal request to have the old tunnel system excavated and properly explored. The request was denied by someone far above her pay grade. And every night, at exactly 12 a.m., the distortion still makes its journey. Down the hallway. Past the checkpoints. To the door where Rex used to wait. It pauses for 30 seconds. Then it leaves. But here's the detail that John can't stop thinking about. On the night he brought Rex back, the night when Rex wagged his tail, the distortion stayed for 45 seconds instead of 30. As if it knew Rex wasn't going to be there again. As if it was saying goodbye. If you want more stories that start with curiosity and end with chills, subscribe now. Because some things don't need eyes to be seen. And some questions don't have answers you actually want to find. See you next time.